morning, traders. I am Emily Advani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Friday, October 4th. More jobs data on tap this Friday after a cautious regular trading session yesterday as tensions in the Middle East remain elevated. All three major indices closed in the red. The Dow closed off by 184 points or 0.44%. The S&P 500 slipped just 9 points or 0.17%. The NASDAQ gave up 6 points or 0.04%. Bill, let's get into Friday's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Yes, good morning, Emily. Hey, I'm watching the S&Ps. We're up 0.3%. That's a positive. That's a positive way to start the morning. I mean, there's a lot going on here today. I mean, the key development today is really going to be that non-farms payroll data that's coming out 1 hour before the opening bell. What else? I see retail stocks. Retail stocks are gaining this morning. Hey, that port worker strike. The port workers are returning to the job. They seem to come to a tentative agreement, so that's positive. Ticker B, Barnes Group. Apollo is said to be in talks to buy out the company at $45 a share. Spirt Airlines is in talks about a bankruptcy filing. Remember, JetBlue was looking to purchase them, and that was voided by the FTC. So it could still happen. We'll see. We're talking, we're talking, electric vehicles. The European Union is set to impose tariffs of up to 45% on electric cars made in China. Not good for those Chinese vehicles. We're watching oil. Oil is prices are continuing to gain. Why? Because they're going to continue to gain while we continue to be on edge for this Israeli strike. Once the Israeli strike happens, they'll start to push down. But until that time, we're going to continue to see some gains in oil prices. So, what we want to do now is just want to take a look at what's going on overseas in Europe, for example. And we're showing mostly gains. We're showing the DAX in Germany. Those markets are up 31 points or 0.16%. We're kind of waiting on the payrolls data, but that EU tariff on Chinese EVs is positive for their auto sector. Although the auto sector doesn't like it, they sell a lot of vehicles in China. The FTSE is down 0.55%. France is trading higher by 33 points or 0.45%. Industrial production climbed 1.4% month over month in August, which easily beat expectations. And then we're just going to take a look at crude oil. Crude oil is trading higher by over 1.5%. Now, this is on the back of yesterday's 5% spike. News hit the tape yesterday that President Joe Biden's, he declined to rule out the possibility of Israel hitting Iran's oil facilities. You declined to say that. You comment on that, and you're the president. You're going to really, create havoc in oil prices, and that's what happened. That's why you saw that big spike, and that spike is continuing. The developments here remain the key catalyst for oil prices, because Iran's the seventh largest producer. But as soon as what happens, and it's probably not going to be as severe as people might think, it's going to, be a catalyst to move oil prices lower. So let's just keep an eye on that. But that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market update, Emily.
Bill, the first thing you said, there is a lot going on this morning. You're keeping track of all of this data and information using your NewsWare. And throughout the show here, we're going to dive into these stories and the stories behind the stocks to prepare for the trading day ahead. Before we get to the economic events, obviously that non-farm payroll is the big headline there. We will get to earnings action. So, Bill, what is going on in terms of earnings?
Well, it's a little APOG, Apple, Paul, Oscar Grace. These guys beat by 21 cents on higher revenue. It was a kind of a surprising beat. That stock's up 8.82% this morning. Nothing this afternoon. On Monday, we got Duckhorn Portfolios, ticker Napa, NAPA, Nancy Apple, Paul Apple. Their EPS is 10 cents. Expected move is 7.62%. And that's what I'm seeing. But next week, towards the end of the week is when we really start earnings season. So that's when it starts to get exciting. But until then, we're just kind of, we've got limited companies announcing. But keep an eye on it as earnings is about to start to pick up, Emily.
And as it picks up, you'll follow all of the details for us each day on Trade Talk. So follow along with us as that heats up. Speaking of action, in terms of economic events today, certainly there's action with the jobs data, but give us a rundown of everything we should be watching when it comes to economic events.
Well, yeah, it is a light day, but there's some good readings coming out. The big one, of course, is at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, 1 hour before the market opens, when we get the non-farms payroll report. Expectations heading into the report are for a reading of 150,000 for September. Now, August came in at 142. July came in was really weak at 89, which is why we sold off in the early part of August after those July numbers came out. So we want to pay attention to it. I mean, 150 would be a good print. Then at 10 a.m., we're going to be hearing from Baker Hughes. At 1 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to be hearing from Baker Hughes when they release the oil rig count figures. I do see that 9 a.m. we're going to be hearing from New York Fed Bank President John Williams. He is going to be speaking. So that's what I have for you in terms of economic data coming out today, Emily.
And Bill, as that data hits the tape, you will see it right away. You have an alert set up, I'm sure, for those economic reports, and you'll be grabbing that as it comes in, able to make moves ahead instead of trailing behind everyone else who's waiting for that to come via the major news outlets because they're using a professional newswire just like NewsWare, as you are, Bill. And speaking of getting information first, you're constantly looking at all types of news coming out of different sectors and segments, following along with things like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, catalyst calls, day in and day out using your news, where you also look at your stocks grouped together like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks. So Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets today?
What do I say? I'm looking at doing a quick data check. I'm showing my Dow stocks. I'm showing 20 or higher, 7 or lower. I'm looking at my FANG stocks. Google is flat, but the rest are showing gains. So that's very positive going into today. Then we're taking a look at some of the news behind the tape, like Amazon. You know, again, I'm looking at Amazon this morning. It is trading higher, up by 1.45%. But they're a big investor in Rivian, and Rivian came out this morning. They're saying they're having production issues due to difficulties obtaining parts. Something to be concerned of. Google, Hyundai teams up with Alphabet's Waymo on self-driving EVs. That's positive. Meta platforms must restrict the use of personal data harvested from Facebook for targeting advertising, according to the Europeans' top court. Tesla, we're seeing gains in Tesla this morning. Those EU tariffs on Chinese vehicles, that is positive for them. And next week, we do have that robo-taxi event going on. So wouldn't be surprised if we see some strong gains in Tesla coming out of there today. What else do I see here happening? Looking at Dow Jones 30 stocks, IBM. IBM is planning to delist its stock from the London Stock Exchange effective November 6th. It's causing a little weakness in the stock earlier this morning. We'll see if that weakness is going to continue or not. Amazon, hey, you got multiple tailwinds here. The port worker strike ending. Deal days are next week. Starts October 8th. Something to keep an eye on. Cisco, ticker CSCO, they're apparently nearing a deal to invest in privately owned cloud computing provider CoreWeave. Merger news, we got ticker B as in boy. Apollo Global Management, ticker APO, is in talks to buy Barnes Group for up to $45 a share. In terms of guidance news, ticker APOG, Apple Paul, Oscar Grace, they raised their full year 2025 EPS view to $4.90 to $5.20. Street estimates $4.82. That's a big uptick. In terms of shareholders meeting going on today, the CEO, Philip Morris, ticker PM, Paul Michael, the CEO, is going to be speaking today at a Barclays conference, but he's not speaking till 5. In terms of catalyst calls, Zscaler, ticker ZS, Zebra Sam, Citibank opened up a 90-day positive catalyst watch onto the stock. Abercrombie and Fitch, ticker ANF, Apple Nancy Frank, JP Morgan places the Abercrombie and Fitch on its positive catalyst watch list. That's what I have for you in terms of news in the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional newswire delivers. It is now that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Bill, what do you have for us to end this week?
You know what? I'm going to go with Tesla, ticker TSLA, Tom, Sam, Larry, Apple. I mean, the EU story on tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles. That's like a gift to Tesla. That's such a bonus for those guys. And and let's face it, that robo taxi announcement next week. I mean, the market's going to start to price that in. The shares have been weak for the last 3 days, so they're due to turn. So yeah, I could see that happen. Now I look at yesterday's call volume, and what do I see? 1,394,856 versus 774 124 calls. Puts. That's almost 2 to 1. That's pretty darn good. And then you look at the open interest, 3,731,261 versus 3,065,827. Like it. Now, major brokers, they're positive, but they know it's overvalued. I know it's overvalued. It's overvalued. But the fact of the matter is, it can still run hotter because it's got some positive news catalyst that's going to be moving the stock price today. So, I do like Tesla. I think Tesla could show a nice move. Got to get in under 243. That's kind of my target area. And, but I do think we're going to see a nice gain in Tesla today, ticker TSLA, Emily, and that's my pick of the day.
Tesla, it is. We will follow that along with you today. Again, trading off the news cycle, putting those pieces of the puzzle together. And coming up, we will do a recap on yesterday's pick of the day before we sign off for the weekend. So stick with us. But first, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our hot off the press segment. Bill, take it away.
Okay, what do we see here this morning? Spirit Airlines sinks 37% to $1.41 after that report of bankruptcy talks. Ooh. Here's a good one. Thermo Fisher TMO, their plant making RSV drug breached FDA rules according to documents. TMO. JP Morgan Chase, ticker JPM, they become a substantial shareholder in Star Entertainment, and exchange filing showed. Archer Daniel Midland, ticker ADM. The company is idling its soybean processing plant in Iowa for weeks in the thick of record U.S. harvest for the grain merchant said. Boeing and Virgin's Galactic, settled a lawsuit stemming from Boeing's work on their ships. Boeing's interesting to me because, with that strike being, over with for the most part with the dock workers, and Boeing turning around and cutting the healthcare benefits of the union employees that are out on strike. I could see that deal being reached very quickly, like one day next week. And, Boeing will trade back, 155, 160 range in no time. EXAS, Edward X-ray Apple SAM, Exact Sciences announced an FDA approval of their Cologuard Plus test. Jack in the Box, ticker JACK, their CFO announced that he's leaving for a new opportunity. Ticker BAX, Boy Apple X-ray, Baxter. They indicated that their IV shipments could fall by as much as 60% due to the effects of the hurricane, which hurt their North Carolina facility. So BAX probably under pressure today. That's all I'm seeing this morning, Emily.
Okay, Bill, before we dive into trading on this Friday, let's do that check-in on yesterday's pick of the day, which was Prudential. They did announce that they will release their third quarter earnings this on Wednesday, October 30th, and that would be after the market closes. Now, Bill, if our listeners recall, yesterday was a messy day in the markets. You were looking for your 1% Prudential. If you got it, you were going to walk away. So how did your call work out?
It worked out well. I mean, made money on it. I mean, the fact of the matter is the stock opened up at 118.10. We knew that was high. We were saying, 117 to 117.40. Well, the stock hit, 117.33. So there you go. It fell in between, that price point, and then it just rallied. It rallied all the way up to 118.96. Bam! There's your 1%. Take it and walk away. And guess what? The stock actually closed at 118.90. So yeah, and it's still trading 118.75. So yeah, that entry point was everything. But Prudential was a winner on Thursday, Emily.
A win indeed, and we will check in with you on Monday about today's Tesla pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here Monday and each weekday morning next week at NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Advani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.